Hey, it's Simple from Navi, and you're listening TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello. Hello and welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, episode 173, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. The date, September 1st, 2019. The time, 8:58 p.m. Central Standard Time. This might just be the best episode ever, if I don't say so myself. We got Overwatch League Playoffs. The Berlin Major is still going on and going on so strong. And we have some e-news to get to. Also, we're going to tell you our yikes of the week. A little new segment we're going to try out here. But before we do that, let's introduce everyone. Hello, my name is Tim. I will be your host for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, a rather refreshed-looking Anuj. Hello, sir.
What's up, fellas? Coming off of that 14-hour
You look
grinder
good.
yesterday.
You look
So
good
alive,
for someone who's been
alive.
playing WoW for 3 days straight with no break.
This chair has an imprint on it, and it's probably not going away anytime soon.
Man, we'll talk about that here in a second. But be sure, if you are the listener, to follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. You can do so and also follow our Discord, Twitch. We stream on Twitch, Mixer, just about anything out there that we can. So be sure and watch the show live. Also, if you listen via iTunes or anything like that, please leave a review. Tell us what you think of the show. Shout out to the one review left last week that called me Michael or something like that. Appreciate it. They were like, Michael and Anuj. I was like,
Close.
I'll take.
It's close
You know
enough.
what?
We'll
You
take
left 5 stars, so you can call me whatever you want. if you leave a 5-star review on iTunes, you can call us whatever names you feel is necessary. I will not complain from a 5-star review. The customer is always right, as they say. I think that's it. So just go ahead and do that, and we would appreciate it. So if you stopped by the stream earlier in the weekend, Anuj was streaming his little LAN party for WoW Classic. How'd that go?
A lot of fun, man. A lot of grinding. I forgot how long it takes to level in that game. It can be a little bit of a beatdown, but we really have enjoyed just kind of being back in a game that we played 15 years ago, and it's with a group of friends I played it with 15 years ago. So a lot of fun this weekend. Happy to be doing the show. I didn't think I would be able to make it today. We booted everyone out a little early, and yeah, it was a fun weekend.
I was going to join you, but obviously being baby weekend, you never know. My child is due tomorrow, so that was another reason why this show was questionable if we were going to be able to do this week. But you know what? I said no. The listeners deserve more. They deserve the best. So I told my wife, keep those legs shut. We got a show to do. And
If her
also,
water breaks mid-show, can we have her hang on? I mean, is it
I'll call an
possible
Uber.
for
I'll
her to?
call an Uber.
Yeah, that would work.
I'll say the
Can she
bags are at
carry
the
her
door. The
bags out?
bags are
Yeah,
already by
carry
the
them out.
door.
Yeah.
I'll tip the Uber well. I'll say, hey, come in, get the bags. I'll see you in like an hour. All right, I got to edit, so maybe like an hour or two. Then
Tops.
I'll see you then. You know, the baby will
They,
understand.
they say it takes a while.
Yeah, I have plenty of time. I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, no,
Labor? What? Why do I have to be there for that? I'm not pushing
you're
the
not
baby out.
contracting. Yeah.
No, I'm fine. I feel good. Like I could just show up and kind of, you know, we'll FaceTime. It's okay, babe. So that's what my weekend was. Also, I tried playing WoW, but my God, we are on like the world's most popular server, and the queue times are absolutely ridiculous. So I tapped out and finally made an alt character on some less popular server to play on. But that's the life of opening weekend of an MMO, I guess. Hopefully, it will die down. So we'll see. We'll see. But no, either way, it was fun. Good little weekend. Good little weekend for esports as well, as we had the Overwatch League Playoffs get going. The Berlin Major is in full stride for CSGO. I did want to bring up a new segment if you don't mind. I'm going to
Let's
call
do
it
it.
Yikes of the Week. So maybe we could do this every week because there's definitely moments that make you go yikes every week. My yikes of the week, Overwatch League. Shanghai versus Philly. I really don't know why this was a thing, but it was a thing. They could not select Numbani for a map, which was part of the official map rotation, but the game just wasn't letting them select Numbani. And so they made a decision on the fly and just replayed another map, like another hybrid map.
Why wouldn't it let them select it?
I
I mean,
don't
it's just
understand. And like the Overwatch League tweeted out saying like just due to issues, they couldn't select the map. So rather than delaying it to try to figure out better solutions, like I don't know, play Eichenwald, like just play a different hybrid map, they replayed a hybrid map that they've already played earlier.
maybe because they didn't want them to play a map where they hadn't put in any like strategy for that particular matchup.
But you're in the
So
playoff. I
plays,
mean, it's just
yeah, no, I
but
mean, hey,
but regardless of that decision making, this is the official Blizzard Overwatch League, is it not? How do you not have a map load? Like how can you not select the map?
knowing that they were probably pushing an update at the same time.
This is they just missed their Tuesday update, their server maintenance. So that was a big yikes for me. That's my yikes of the week right there is Overwatch League and Blizzard just somehow failing to have their own game operate in their own league.
I think I got one we could use here for this. So for this yikes of the week, this comes from Counter Strike, our lovely Berlin Major that's taking place. This is G2, just to set it up. This is G2 playing against Astralis. Astralis is on map point on Nuke. For those of you that are not aware, Nuke is a layered map, like lower and
It's a
upper
fickle
layer, bottom
beast.
layer. Yeah, little tough. Um, Astralis planted the bomb. G2 had eliminated all the players. All they had to go and do is defuse, keep themselves alive. Let's take it to like, a 25th or 26th round, whatever it was going into over there. Instead, they went to the wrong bomb site to look for the bomb, missed the defuse timer, and lost the map on it.
So I will not blame G2. It is a big yikes. Don't get me wrong. I mean, everyone was laughing. Even their owner. Did you see the owner tweet out
Oh yeah,
afterwards?
yeah.
He did.
Jason Lake comment.
Yes, he copy and pasted Jason Lakes like this is unacceptable. Contact me now. I need a tier 1 team. I got a good chuckle after that cuz I mean, what do you do after that? You just got to laugh. Because I mean, it was going to be like what? 15-10 or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like they
it would
were
have
G2 was still
been.
way behind
It was
when it happened.
15-7 at the time when it
Okay, so it
happened.
would have been
So
15-8. Like, let's
yeah,
be real. G2 wasn't winning that map
no,
anyways. So this was just a funny way to lose on it.
it's
You
a
know,
terrible way to lose.
it
I
is an
mean, it's
awful way
just.
to lose.
But yeah, I
And
do agree with you. Had it
I,
not, if it had been like 15-14 or something, this would have been a
oh,
lot worse,
so
right?
much worse. So, no,
Would have been
like
great at the
we
same
can
time,
laugh
but
about it now, right? And even like
yeah,
the owner can laugh about it now. If it was like 15-14, no one would be laughing. No one. I would even feel bad for him at that point. And like you said, though, Nuke, I'd be lying if I said I never went to the wrong bomb site on Nuke, but definitely not with like the amount of people they had alive. Like, why don't you guys
we
split
play
up?
Nuke twice a year.
Yeah,
It's a little different
like
for us.
how did this happen here? We had a failure to communicate when like there's because how many people were alive?
I think like two or three.
I mean,
Yeah, there's enough
enough
to
to
make a.
divide and conquer, or at least be like, hey,
Oh
are
no,
you,
just kidding.
guys, who's
It was four alive.
four
Four
alive?
alive.
Yeah, like no one was like, hey guys, is no one defusing the bomb? No, no. And then like
No,
before, and you realize it like you saw it like on the mini map. They all kind of realized like, shit,
not one
like
of us is down there.
this is bad. This won't look good. So
G2 had more nightmares to come though. That wasn't the only one, unfortunately.
no, it was it was it was pretty bad. And we'll get to G2's weekend here at the major in just a moment. I did want to talk a little bit about the play-in matches for the Overwatch League because we do have the official playoffs going on this week. Again, I don't know. Maybe do you consider play-in matches playoffs?
We counted in
Do
college
you,
basketball.
I was
Let's
gonna
go to
say, do
counting
you
there.
consider a wild card game in baseball playoffs? I don't.
It's playoffs.
Say
It's
I don't.
playoff. It.
You don't get to say you made the playoff. None of you have to play in to make the playoffs.
Baseball season's so long. It's pretty brutal not to give them
Don't raise a
that
banner.
little chip.
It just means you were closer than
But
other teams.
it is officially a playoff game, by all means, right? Like a play-in game in baseball. It's a one-game playoff. It's not a play-in game.
Yeah. Whatever
This is
makes your fan base feel better, I guess.
hey, however you
Whatever
can spin with your
whatever
lose.
makes your fan
Whenever
base
you
feel
get
better.
that L, whatever you have to say to make you feel better will work at that point.
Yeah. But you did have the play-ins for the Overwatch League. The Charge defeat the Hunters. The Dragons defeat Fusion. This was one where, again, Nubani got all messed up, so they couldn't play it. So they had to, I believe it was Kings Row. They had to play twice. Yeah, Kings Row. They ended up playing twice on, and so that's already you see the home team for the finals eliminated as the Fusions lose. Semifinals, you had Spitfire versus the Dragon, Dynasty versus Charge. Both respective top seeds there went to move on. So now, looking at the playoffs, you have a pretty juicy bracket, if I don't say so myself. Now, it is double elimination. I don't remember if last year was double elimination. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't remember it being double elimination last year, but I could 100% be lying. I don't remember. But in the quarterfinals, you have the first matchup, Vancouver Titans versus Seoul Dynasty. That right there is kind of my marquee matchup, mainly just because the story there, right? Dynasty failed to make the playoffs last year, which was like one of the biggest upsets of the league. The Dynasty went in as like being one of the favorites, and then you
I mean,
failed to make
people thought they were
playoffs.
going to go undefeated.
Yeah.
They were so good leading into last year.
Oddly
For
enough,
them to,
them and the Fuel both last year were like touted as best teams in the league, and both ended up failing miserably. The only difference is Dynasty kind of learned what they did wrong, and they're fixing that. But either way, it's difficult to see anyone other than the Titans taking that one, even with like the new comp and everything. Oh, I will say this though, and we have a small sample size, but of course, Blizzard being Blizzard, they don't know how to make a good decision if their life depended on it. Unless they're listening, then they make the greatest decisions of all time. But if they're not listening, and I have to speak the truth, this was when they introduced Sigma to the league.
yeah.
So going into playoffs, yet again, they have a game-changing update, right? Now we have Sigma going in. So all these teams, right? Vancouver Titans, the Spark, Gladiators, everyone other than London Spitfire and Dynasty have no experience playing with him on a true game situation professional level. So maybe Dynasty and London come out with some advantage having to play in the play-in games. Like they can at least see, oh, okay, this worked against a pro team. It's not a scrim, it's a real match, and maybe this works.
What do you think makes more of a difference? Introducing a new character or making some sort of update which changes the meta? Because in this case, we kind of had both, right? We
Yeah.
had the 2-2-2 kick in for all of
Stage
the
4.
stage 4, and now we had a new character introduction coming into the playoffs. So, in your mind, what's kind of a bigger thing to deal with for an Overwatch player
Um, so in this situation,
in this situation?
I'm gonna have to say the new character because you watch some of the games. First off, viewership was mysteriously down for these playing games. Maybe people just had the same mentality I had, where it was like, call me when the actual playoffs start. I don't really care about these playing games. Like, let's be real. The playing games are pretty much just meant for the mid-tier teams to play. right? Like call me when the playoffs start and then I'll care. But viewership was like down. Like it was like 70,000, 80,000, which normally, they're getting around 100, 110,000.
And you have like 3 Chinese teams in the mix there, right?
Well,
So
and
which
that's
is
what
a
some people
little.
were saying that might have been the issue because for example, when London and Shanghai played on yesterday, 31st, yeah, yesterday,
Yeah.
it was like 4 a.m. Shanghai time, which
Well,
I get there's no I mean, we've witnessed it too, like with the TI that just happened in Shanghai. That's just there's nothing you can do with scheduling and making that work for both people. Um, but as far as Twitch
it's
viewership
really one or
goes,
the other.
I think as far as Twitch viewership goes, yeah, the Chinese teams definitely don't draw the crowd. They don't draw the viewership like your NA teams.
Things are still a little busy in Hong Kong. Let's give it another week and
People don't have
see what kind of
internet.
yeah.
People are out on the streets. It's just Overwatch League playing games. Now, when the playoffs start, that's when Hong Kong will find peace.
Yeah.
That's when China will put down their arms and say, "Guys, it's the Overwatch League playoffs. Come on." Uh, but to get back to your question, no, I think introducing Sigma was a bigger deal than some normal balance patch because Sigma introduces yet another godforsaken shield into Overwatch. And I won't lie, dude. It was so funny because when 222 came out, everyone was like, "Hell yeah, we're here. Oh, you better watch out for the Widowmakers. Oh man, the snipers are coming back." And then Blizzard was like, "Oh, hold up, guys. Let's introduce Sigma, a very not mobile. He's not fast, but he can move around with a shield that he can instantly throw out and recall pretty much instantly."
At any angle to
At
block
any
off snipers from
angle,
coming up
throw it up,
high
throw
or
it high, throw it short, doesn't matter. Oh, and by the way, his other alt ability absorbs bullets to recharge that shield faster and make it just as strong. So that pretty much shut down any sniper play for the weekend. And people were running the double shield comp, which, if you've played any type of double shield comp with an actual team, right? Um, Not just like quick play or something. It is miserable to play against.
who are
Um,
they using Arissa with him
yeah,
or
yeah, they were using
okay.
Orisa and Sig together, and just because Orisa's shield is also very quick recharge, you can pretty much I think it's an 8-second cooldown, and
It's
you
as
can
good as
just
having 3 tanks. It's having a third tank
you
basically with a
you
double
really do,
shield.
yeah. Like having
Yeah.
those shields on there, so it forced teams to play Doomfist and May and Reaper. You couldn't get the snipers out there as much, and man, it. I won't lie, it made some games brutal to watch. It was just it was a shield fighting simulator at that point. It really slowed down the pace of the game in certain maps, not every map, but certain ones, man. It made it rough. So maybe teams will learn ways to play around it. If they want to have my opinion, I am in like a 3-3-500 Overwatch League team. Okay, don't call it a league; it's a community. Okay, or the league will yell at us. It's an Overwatch League community beer league, and we found ways to fight it. So the Minty Hippos, which is my beer league team names, we just run a very aggressive Reinhardt Zarya comp, and you just run right through the shields. Oh, you have double shields. It'd be a shame if I just ran through them, and it works. It works against our little plat diamond beer league that we're in. So maybe if the London Spitfire needs some help, they can call. I will offer my assistance. But it's just funny that as we introduce 222, Blizzard quickly introduces a new comp and meta that kind of eliminates what everyone was excited about for 222. So,
Sounds about right.
and maybe that will suit people like Titans, even though Titans still didn't terribly drop off when 222 was introduced, but they definitely weren't as dominant as they were in stage 4 compared to when Goats and everything was the meta of choice. So, they're still my favorite. You can look at teams like San Francisco Shock also being a favorite, but again, just like
We
last
don't
year,
know.
yeah, just like last year, going into the playoffs, it's kind of difficult to talk and break it down because we haven't seen any of these teams except for the Spitfire and the Seoul Dynasty play into this meta, play into this new, hero. So I don't know how you can do a full on proper breakdown other than if you're just talking hypotheticals, which to me is pointless. I hate doing previews when you're just like, well, it's gonna be interesting to see a Nuge. Like, yeah,
It would be fitting
okay.
if New York ended up being the dominant team after the change this time around.
Yeah, right. Like
Going,
last year,
going, yeah,
the
last year kind of
update
flipped
right
on them.
before hurt them, and even though last year they even admitted like they just didn't try, right? Because they were like, guys, we're New York, like we dominated all year. Don't worry about it. We'll dominate in the playoffs, and then it just came back to haunt them. So we'll see what happens. But of course, just a friendly reminder: we will be at the finals in Philadelphia. So if you are going and you want to say what's up, I get there early Friday morning. I have some media business to attend to, not a big deal. I think like Friday evening, Friday night, but then Sunday at the event, just hit us up. Anuj, you get there Sunday morning, so the
Yep, bright and
dedication
early Sunday.
is just unbelievable. Flying in from Boston, is it? You're at a wedding and then you're leaving the wedding,
I'm
and
flying into Boston, from Boston going to Providence for a wedding, flying from Providence, Rhode Island to Philly on Sunday morning for the match. So it will be a
what
busy little
dedication?
weekend there.
Yeah, it will be busy, but it will be a fun one. So we'll
It will
see
be.
there. The matches start on the 5th, September 5th. Yeah. So you have the top half, Vancouver and Seoul and Spark and Gladiators are playing on the 5th, which is what, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. And then New York, London, San Francisco, and Atlanta are playing on Friday. So that will give us the first little taste of it. And then of course they kind of stretch it out through the month and the finals are at the end. So all in good time though, that we'll be able to watch. We'll see a little bit more after this week. We'll be able to discuss a little bit more of the meta and how it affects some of these teams. But that is now and later. Do you know what also starts this weekend, Anuj?
What do we got?
We have football. Football is back.
Oh man.
I just did my
Yeah.
fantasy draft before the show. It's the official mark of summer is dead to me. It is now fall because football is back, and that's all I care about. And the good thing about that is that our friends at Thrive Fantasy, I can bet on football now. Before I was just betting on esports, making easy money because these chumps don't know anything about esports, and I'm just raking it in. Well, you can also do the same thing now with Thrive Fantasy. That's THRIVE. Look it up in your app store. Download the app. When you register with the code TCR, get it, it's our name, you will get free $10 match for your first $10 you put in. Just like that, you are up ahead, making easy money, but please gamble responsibly. That is Thrive Fantasy. All right, let's look at this major because a lot happened over the weekend. Can I say one thing before we get too far into it?
Yeah.
Too much, too fast. I think that's my
Makes
issue with
sense.
the major. Like, you just went from stage to stage to stage. Like, you went from new challenger stage to new legend stage, and now we're going right into the top 8. Way too soon. Like, there needs
What
to
do you
be
want, like a
some
week
breathing.
gap in between?
Yes, like I need some breathing in this to really absorb the hype going into each stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think the travel becomes the problem, right? Because these teams, a lot of them, have already boot camped in Germany for a week or two prior to the event. And now, if you continue to win, I don't think many of them are necessarily, some of them I'm sure are traveling back and forth, but I guess, US and China and all these guys, and no China left, but US and these guys might be a little difficult to do that. But I agree. It does, like, there's a lot of Counter Strike going on. And if you miss a day even, it's really kind of hard to go back and catch up, and unless you're watching like VOD after VOD, but most people are not doing that. Um, but I agree. I mean, with it being so much Counter Strike, especially when you start to do the BO1s, then you go into the BO3 days. Um, you're not really getting to soak it in that long because by the time this is done, we're turning around and resetting all over again of in 4 days, and here
Yeah.
we go again. You kind of forget the previous round pretty quick. Um, but I'm still very hyped at the same time. So I might be the wrong person to say it to just because of how much I enjoy watching Counter Strike. But yeah, I mean, I'm still very much excited going into this next stage.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's too much Counter Strike. You can never have too much Counter Strike. It is by far the best esports in the world. Fight me if you disagree, because I will fight you and I'll win. But I just think let me have the hype. Like the TI is so epic because it's like long, right? You have this hype that's built up over 2 weeks and everything. And you can see that like the main event is 2 weeks long. Like you have group stage, which is also big, but then you have the main event and everything. This I just felt like it was a little it moved too quickly because it's just constant, right?
There's a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's one day after the next, and it just kind of goes Thursday straight to Sunday with just a lot of Counter Strike.
Stage is a bit weird. I don't know how
This
I
one,
feel about the
yeah.
Star Ladder Major so far. I'll wait till it goes to the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Is that where the place is
Where are
in
they
Berlin?
doing this right now? Where
I
is
have
this at?
I have no idea where this is at, but I don't like the stage.
It's massive. It just looks like they're like sitting in this black hole with teams on either side of it, with no like, there's no lighting or anything kind of in between to give it some sort of flair. So when they showed the stage, it just looks like an empty black room that
It
they're
looks like they're
in.
just in a warehouse and like there is a crowd, but the room is so big, the crowd just looks so tiny. I
It's
don't
the observers cheering for themselves that you're hearing.
and even it's all the fired observers. They say now go sit in the stands. It's and then, like even when they go to the desk, like the desk looks really awkward. Like the lighting on the desk just looks like it's like one light hanging over them, and they're just quickly moving it over to get everyone in the light. Like it's really
They let it swing.
it's really a odd, almost podunk looking major for right now. And even like when the teams won and made it to the top 8, it was so awkward because like they pulled like when Liquid won, for example. They pull the whole team up there to do the final interview with Smix, which is really weird because she's only talking to one person. And they're all just kind of standing around. And then after the interview done, they have to stand up there and like do like a whole team photo with like the fireworks going off around them. And like you could even see that the players were like, "What are we doing?
There's nobody here.
Like there's no one here. We just made top 8. Like you saved the look, that is bad mojo. You
You
don't
think
shoot
anybody turned it down?
you don't shoot the fireworks off for top 8. That's
No, I mean they're making it try to look good. Obviously, like these are for your Twitter pictures and
oh, I get
Instagram
it.
and
I
stuff
get
like
it. But
that.
if I was a player, I'd be like, no, turn those off.
Yeah.
We have fireworks when we win the
No,
major.
no, no.
Not
Turn that off. Take a picture with us holding the trophy.
yes, yeah. We are not doing this right now. But nonetheless, there's still pretty good some pretty good matchups, man. I can't believe the amount of overtimes in this major are insane. And I don't know if I've said this in our Discord. Part of the reason I'm confused with how I feel about this major is I can't tell if it's teams overperforming and just being clutch or if it's good teams underperforming. Like Liquid, for example. I was ready to put them in my yikes of the week because I was fully expecting them to be eliminated. Like I did not
Definitely
think
felt
that
like
they were
that.
going to make the top 8. But it's like everyone was like, "Oh, Liquid's unbelievable. I can't believe they did it." And at the same time, Liquid should never have been in a 2-2 match. Like
Having back-to-back double elimination games.
that to me is them underperforming.
Yeah, I mean it was in the sense. First of all, losing at that point, I felt like to Avangard, I started to get pretty nervous. That first match when they lost to NRG was playing really well. And they proved that it wasn't just that one particular game because they beat 3 Legends teams now to advance, right? Renegades, we'll get into them in a moment. But they beat then Liquid in a BO1. and then they came back and beat Astralis and a BO3. All three of these teams proved to play really good Counter Strike this weekend because all three ultimately advanced. But they 2-0'd Astralis. Um, and so for Liquid, I give them a little bit of a pass there just because you ran into a team that was on fire. Avangar, again, proved to be one of the hotter teams at this stage in the tournament. Um, I was biting my fingernails to a nub in that Liquid Mouse Sports game. I don't know if you saw that was a
Yeah.
round 5. That was the final elimination game for him. Both maps went into overtime. Um, Mirage and Dust 2, and I think Stewie, in my mind, is what really made the difference here. I went back and had to watch the VODs for both of these games, but Stewie made, he was so aggressive with the op. Liquid really got back a little bit more into their normal play style. Um, I now feel more confident seeing that going into the next stage than if you had asked me when they were down to 1-2 what I thought. Because it
Yeah.
was like, oh gosh, this is not pretty Counter Strike. This is not the Liquid that we've seen. They're hitting a slump at the worst time. And then they come out in 2-0, North and Mouse back to back. But I am
And
feeling
even Mouse, like
better about them.
both of their games went into overtime. The game against Avangar went into overtime. Like Liquid has
Yeah.
played enough matches or enough rounds this major to almost, you know, play the entire thing now. So this is my issue though with giving them a pass is that they were by far the favorites going into the major, like by a mile,
Yeah.
by a long shot. They were the best team in the world. The best team in the world should not be beaten by a team that's hot. Like that should be the one thing that stops the team from being hot. That is my beef with this is that if you are truly the best team in the world, which don't get me wrong, I still think they are, but you can't let your major curse or your major mindset, which Liquid kind of has always had a bad major mindset, get in the way of your ability to shut down teams that you should be able to shut down.
Yeah, at the same time, I feel like they peaked at a kind of the right and wrong time, right? They went on that 5 tournament win streak pretty much there at the end of the season, to lead into the major, but the major had that 1 month gap off. And when a team is kind of rolling and on fire that way, you feel like you just don't want to stop. You do not want it to stop. Everyone's playing at their peak, and then your next really big tournament coming in is now the major, and you're playing on this big stage, and it's like you have to turn it back on. Still, that's not an excuse. Like you're right. They should have been able to advance 3-0. I mean, just looking at their their recent form. But they did show that they are a championship caliber team, and when their backs were against the wall, even not only being down 2-1 to 2-1, but also in like the Mouse series, they had a 15-9 lead. Mouse came back, took it to overtime. They were able to clutch it out and pull through there. Um, they showed some resilience in these matches, and again, you're right. They shouldn't have put themselves in that position, but I think the best teams are also able to overcome some of these mistakes. Where you look at a team like G2, who had every opportunity to close the door on teams in advance, was not able to do that.
Yeah, G2 they struggled. I mean, especially because we say some of the teams they should have been able to beat, and some of the teams they did beat. Like they beat Navi the first round. Like
Yeah.
how do you beat like that? Should have been your whew, all right, boys, we got this now. Like don't worry, we can beat the top dogs, and then you proceed to lose to Ivangar and Renegades. Though Renegades have kind of been a uh, I don't want to say like dark horse of the event because they did reach legends. Now they've reached legends 2 years in a row. They went from being the first Australian team to ever do it to now being the first one to ever do it 2 years in a row. Did you see the picture of Apex comforting Kenny S for
Yeah,
G2?
pretty sad. Nice moment there between them.
It was a very good moment to be captured
Yeah.
via photo though. I you know, I
For Renegades, I want to say one thing because a viewer brought this up to me a few weeks before the major started, and he was trying to sell me on the hype of Renegades. I completely shut it down. I was like, nope, not this team, not happening. Like, I just don't see it. They hadn't been informed. They had looked bad, and so sorry, I forgot who it was. I'll have to go back and look through the
It was
threads there.
Connor.
But was it Connor?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey
So he's
Connor,
gonna hit. He's
good
gonna
call
hit
on
you.
that.
He's gonna hit you
It'll
up on
come soon.
Twitter, trashing
It'll
you
come
now.
soon. No, in all honesty, he's wrong. They still suck. They should not have made it past this stage. I'm shocked. There, it's really. I say they suck. That's a lie. I'm over exaggerating. But Mouse had
This is that time
such
where
a
you trash a guy
terrible
for glass
draw.
canning like a scout, and then he just rips off like a triple kill and he validates everything he's ever done. You're like, no, you still suck, and you still shouldn't have glass cannon that scout. But good job.
Good job. I mean, Mouse, it was so unfortunate for them because I really thought Mouse played some unbelievable CS. They looked so good. Losing to FaZe, that's probably a no-go, right? You can't let that happen. At the same time, a lot of emotion tied in that game with Kerrigan playing FaZe and kind of them being reunited there a little bit, right? But they had to run into their best of three matches to advance, right? They're up 2-1 here. They need to win one BO3 to advance. They get the number one and two ranked teams in the world, respectively, with Liquid and Vitality. Um, and so really unfortunate that Liquid got that draw because had they had either, I believe, of Renegades' draw, a G2, a FaZe, and those are not like just easy games. So I'm not like knocking Renegades that hard for it. But Renegades played Dream Eaters, FaZe, and G2, where Mouse had to play Liquid and Vitality. A little different scenario for them. And like I said, Mouse was able to take Liquid to two overtimes in both those matches.
There's
Um,
always in every major since the Swiss format has been introduced, there's always been that one team's route that you can always point to on why the Swiss system sucks. This is that route.
Well, it's the same one. There's two because there's two really good examples of this. I thought there was really two teams that should have advanced over Renegades, and the other one would have been Crazy. Crazy had been playing amazing CS, looking so good, and then you run into your BO3 matches against Astralis and Navi. And now, granted, you should say yes. Well, you got to beat the best to kind of be into that mix, but there is a difference in who they're playing to like get to that point. And so, for Crazy, the run finally came to an end, but man, bravo! Like, what a showing by them. That team is a proven championship caliber team in my mind. I think they have a very good squad.
Future 100 Thieves.
Yeah, we'll see.
Nade did say that he's out there in Berlin, and he said he's going to sign a team while he's out there. What other team could it be?
Dream Eaters, Dream Eater Thieves.
No way.
What if that was the call? He could form a team while he's out there because he does
He
have a lot
could.
of
I don't
time
think he
now to talk
minds.
to
I don't think he
Colzera.
minds
He could be
having
talking to
the
Nico.
well, and he doesn't mind. I think having a EU team. Like I think Nate Shot is past the NA EU crap. I think he just wants a winning team, and he doesn't really care who. Like 100 Thieves has their fan base already. They don't need to worry about building an NA fan base. So maybe they go
Look,
for Crazy.
100 Thieves is an apparel company, right? I think first and foremost, in my mind, I look at them as a streetwear brand, and then almost an esports organization because that's what they
You're gonna
showed
get
to
people
us.
mad
Like,
at you.
that's fine. That's okay. Like, but they are an apparel company, and we'll talk about this in their decision for Call of Duty later on. This is gonna You can say what you guys want, but we're gonna bring this up later on in our Call of Duty segment, or in our E News at least, and we'll discuss the decision that they made. But for it to be worth it in my mind for 100 Thieves, it can't be five no name players because they need to push their merch, and that's one of
Yeah.
the biggest goals for them. And so, who's gonna push merch better? The players on Crazy currently, like Otto, Hunter, and these guys, or like Cold Zera, Nico, and Guardian? Like who's going to be able to push out more of your gear and give you more, cred in the scene in that sense. So if they make a splash, I would see it being a big splash. Crazy would be great though
On
if
the
they were able to
on
do
that
that.
note too, though, could having the 100 Thieves brand help you get invited to more tournaments? Like that could work both ways. Them bringing
Kind of,
in
sort of,
CS is kind of immune to that. I think we saw that with Optic, right? I think that was kind of part of
yeah.
the issue with Optic, right? Is you have this giant world recognized brand, yet half of your fan base doesn't even know that you have a roster in CS:GO because they just were irrelevant for so long. You know, you can't be a tier 1 organization with a tier 2 team
Like
because you're going to get
I
buried.
get the example that you're making, and I like it. My only disagreement with it is like Crazy themselves would also warrant an invite under their current organization, right? I think they've done enough to like
Just
be
at
able
this
to
major
get
to have that hype.
yeah, and even leading into the major, they played really well. So it wasn't like just the major performance, but they've been good enough. Now, yes, if you take a team like Crazy and slap 100 Thieves on it, there may be a little bit more to it. But I guess what I'm saying is they also couldn't drop down and pick out a team that's not in the top 16, and all of a sudden, um,
No, well,
they're going
you
to
got
be
to have
invited
both,
there.
right? There's got to be a little
Yeah,
bit of both in
yeah.
there, I think, to make it work.
So I do think Crazy would be good enough with the 100 Thieves
Also, Crazy,
branding.
again, worst name in esports, worst branding in esports. So I wouldn't mind
I don't
100
get
Thieves
the
taking it over.
logo. What is the logo?
I think it's a 4. I think it's supposed to be a 4.
Oh, is that what it is?
It kind of just looks like a messed up super. It looks like someone who doesn't know how to draw the Super Smash Brothers logo, and like that's what they get off of memory. Like
I thought they've
if
been
you had
trying
to
to
draw,
recruit JDM this whole time with the lounging chair.
if you had to make Super Smash Brothers logo from memory, that's Crazy's logo. But I hate it. I hate everything about it.
No, it's not a good looking logo.
What are the
Not a good
odds?
team name either.
No, no. So what are the odds that
Would
Nico's cousin joins FaZe?
Nico's cousin?
Yeah, I think it's Hunter, right? Isn't that his cousin on Crazy?
Yeah. I mean, depends on what the buyouts are, right? I don't know what FaZe's plan is for their Counter Strike team. I really don't.
There's rumors that they were looking at not Nico, Cold.
Yeah, I
I get
mean,
that. This is my issue with those Cold rumors, right? Because we've gotten them ever since he was benched from MIBR. Yeah, every team is going to approach them about Cold. If you have a desire to replace one of your players, yes, you are going to go approach to get one of the best players in the world. The issue is how far that conversation goes when you see the buyout, right? Oh yeah, so
yeah.
I could email MIBR asking, "Hey, I'm interested in a Cold. What's the buyout?" Then they give me the buyout. That doesn't mean like, oh well, TCR approached MIBR for Cold. They're interested in him. Well, I would hope every team is interested in having Cold. The issue is the buyout.
What do you think about Get Right's current situation, right? Because we haven't touched on this. Obviously, all
MIBR
of the
played
talk.
awful.
Well, for Get Right in specific, right? Like this was his
Or
last
MIBR,
tournament
I
with.
mean NIP. NIP played
Yeah,
awful.
and yeah, I was like, wait a minute, did we just change topics
MIBR
real quick?
also played awful. I just ignored
I got.
everything. You said get right, and I said no. This is my show.
You just wanted
MIBR.
to. You
I
were
just
just looking
power
at.
tripped a little bit. I'm sorry. Let's
I
talk about
think
NIP.
for Nip losing to MIBR the way they
You know what?
did
I
with
got an idea.
the
Let's talk
coach.
about get right situation. Go ahead. Continue.
I love it. For Get Right, I'm very curious to see, how this all ends up. Nip looked absolutely horrendous in this stage. You
Yeah.
can't lose to MIBR when MIBR is playing with the coach. You get O2'd by North in your elimination matchup. There just wasn't anything positive to come out of this round. On top of that, they were, I believe, minus 30 or 35 in
Minus
round
30.
differential. So
One
they
of the
got
worst.
smacked pretty hard. Yeah, I mean, so for them, um, this was a farewell. It's unfortunate because I think the other Katowice stole all of the get right love that we were going to get in terms of a goodbye, right? Like Katowice kind of was
Yeah.
the farewell tour, it felt like. Um, or was it Cologne? I
Cologne.
think it was
It was Cologne.
yeah, Cologne. Um,
It's all Europe.
so I'm curious, get right has the ability to come to an NA team and if anything get more sponsorships, right? Because he's a very marketable person. I don't know how much he has left in the tank in terms of um, you'd have to be in a specific system and you can't be relying on him to be the get right of old anymore, obviously. But I think there's still enough in the tank to where we could, see a situation like an exist type thing with Fnatic where he was able to continue on. But there are enough teams that are going to be looking to make a change, as well as enough teams that have free agents already out there looking for a team. then I think we're going to see some sort of new. I want to say super team, but let's not call it that. I think it'll be a team with a bunch of big names on it,
Right.
and we'll kind of see what happens. But
So
yeah,
what
I
if?
mean,
Hear me out. 100 Thieves, Keo, Get Right, Cold, and literally insert any other two random people.
Nico and Guardian,
But they're not free agents. Like real,
they're
like
not free agents.
people who are out there, right? Like if you were looking at making a free, like you said, not a super team. We don't want to use that label, but just a
So you
free agent
said
team.
Cold,
Keo, Kiyoshima,
Keo, Get Right.
Get Right.
I guess anybody from Complexity is free.
Soon to be.
Oh,
Yep. As they're looking for. How awesome would it be if after Complexity and Jason tweet that out, 100 Thieves comes swooping in and it's like,
just buys gets
just
their
buys
team.
everyone out, and then Jason is like, "Damn, like I got nothing. I got nothing out here."
You got to backtrack. You know what, guys? We're gonna
You
give this another run. We're growing.
you can have the
I s-
nicest facilities as you want, but if you're a tier 2 team, you're a tier 2 team. I don't really great.
it's gonna be the teams that make the splash early, right? So I think if Complexity wants to turn it around, they're gonna have to be quick to the punch, right? So it can't be a lot of waiting
Well, and
around.
he has to he's got to back his word and just drop the checkbook. Like just send them blank checks and say write it in.
Oh yeah. I mean, at this point, if you were to make changes and it's like people from old Optic or I mean, it's I'm not gonna say washed up players, but players that are not peaking in terms of high level tier one talent. It's going to be a little embarrassing, right? Because he's the one that really said, put the open checkbook out there. Salaries, buyouts are not a thing. So let's see. I mean, again, for us, it's advantageous to have Complexity be badass. They're in our backyard. So I do root for them. I want to see them do well. But we're going to have some crazy roster mania going on. And that will save for another episode because we're going to get plenty
That
of
could be
fun
its
stuff
own
there.
thing.
I do want to do just a quick touch on kind of on the flip side of
No,
NIP
they weren't in the
would be
major.
a team like Ents, right?
Does anyone remember Flipside?
Poor flip side.
That's a
Markolov's
that's a
waiting to
team
get
I
in.
don't think new listeners, if you're new into esports, you're like Flipside. Who's that?
I'm
That
interested
used
to
to be
see
a
what's
team.
going to happen with Ents because Ents is now the 3-0 team. This is after coming off the
Deservingly
heels
so.
of
Like
announcing that
deservingly 3-0.
they're going to do a roster swap here at the end of this tournament. It's already been announced, right, for Sunny to come in for Alexi B. Sunny has got to be the most unluckiest Counter Strike player there is. Because not only to be benched for basically a full year, it feels like at this point, but now you're about to replace a guy who is helping carry a team um, through a major with an insane plus minus differential on round differential for Ents going into this. So I'm really not sure what the best move for them is outside of just keeping this roster because they proved to step up when it
Dude,
counts.
they're in such an
Like
awkward situation though. It's like
that's so
it's like
bad.
breaking up with your girlfriend and then like as she's crying, you're like, just make me jealous, babe. Like just do it, right? And it's how awkward that you're like, dude, listen, this isn't working out. We want to switch up our roster. And now you're the 3-0 team going into the final eight, like
I
the new
don't get
championship stage.
why you would want to make that announcement um prior to the tournament and not just see how it's going to pan out for you. I really just don't understand that logic, right? So I mean, it's a little unfortunate the situation that they have put themselves in because they looked really, really good. I mean, it's going to be tough, especially if they even make it to the semis and lose there. Like, wow, what expectations you set in back-to-back majors now with this roster. So we'll see. That's not going to be a fun situation for them.
No.
I think everything else across the board was fairly standard. I think Navi had a very easy route to get into this major. I think
I
it
will give
should
you
be.
credit too with NRG. I believe you did say what were your sticker picks, by the way? What was your
I
3
got
zero?
my three. So people are gonna cheese me on this. I cheese it to where I don't put my 3-0 team as who I think will be 3-0 on there, so I can get 5 picks in. right? Like, because if you pick a 3-0 team and they don't win, but
Oh
they
yeah, you play it
advance,
safe.
you lose that spot. So I
Yeah.
played it safe.
It's the same reason I don't ever pick my football team for my quarterback in fantasy league. So that way, if Matthew Stafford has a bad day, not only do the Lions lose, but I also lose. So
Yeah.
you hedge your bet is what you're doing. You're just hedging your bet.
No, I think NRG is in top form. My picks did fairly well. I got my 03 team right. And I got 5 out of the 7, 8 teams. I got 6 out of the 8 teams that
Because you
advanced.
always
So
speak highly of NRG, which I never do. I think I'm finally believing the hype that they are a top team because they have, I mean, the teams they beat, Renegades, Liquid, and Astralis, and they 2-0'd Astralis nonetheless. I think one was like a crazy overtime game too, right? If I'm remembering correctly. Let me look.
well, yeah, these guys have 5 potential
Yeah,
star
they were like
players
one
on
of
their
the long
team.
ones. 31-28. They beat Astralis on train.
31-28.
Yeah.
I did not realize that was
I
a
think they
scoreline in that one.
tied the record and then something. I don't really remember. But
Well,
crazy
they
long game there.
they have just, I mean, they have talent across. They remind me of Liquid. I mean, in terms of the players that they have on that team, in my mind, they have 4 potential players that could be considered like all-star talents, right? And then with
Right.
Stanislaw, you bring in, and Stanislaw is the one I'm kind of keeping off that list in terms of an all-star player. But I think Stanislaw is a good IGL and a good fragger, right? He's not really bad in either of those categories. Where Daps I thought was a good IGL, but a bad fragger, you really stepped up in that position in terms of I think you get the same logic or thought process behind the person. But I do think Stanislaw brings more in terms of firepower. Tarek, Ethan, Sturk, and Breezy are all amazing players when they're on. And when you get these guys to mesh well, and I think that was one of the things that I mentioned is how are Ethan and Tarek going to find more consistency in this team? And when they do, how will this team look? We kind of got a glimpse of that in this stage. They all played really well. Like they were consistent. Cirque is so amazing with the op. He's one of the best oppers in the world. Um, with an aggressive
So
play
Border
style,
Border and Twitch chat even said that he's been one of the best at the event so far.
yeah, he's looked great. I mean, if Cirque plays at a high level, if your opera is playing at a very high level, it's it takes a pretty bad team to kind of let that person down because they can really hold down and close off sites on their own if they're on point with it. And Cirque has proven to do that. They play with a lot of aggression, but they play smart. And so I think with Stanislaw and their coach Chet, um, they're gonna have an ability to make a run. Plus, with the bracket that they're in, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a moment, um, they they're gonna have a little bit of an interesting out. If they're gonna win, they're gonna have to deserve it
Yeah.
ultimately, right? If
So
they win, it's gonna be theirs.
you brought up the coach. I'm a pet.
Hmm.
At a risk of sounding like a big jerk, no man's face has captivated my attention more than his whole head fascinates me. I've never seen someone. His hair looks so fuzzy, and yet it's also like growing on his forehead. Like if
He's got an interesting
I feel like if he didn't cut it, it would just keep growing over his face until his head was just one smooth thing of fuzzy hair.
I'm not going to look at a picture right now.
Like look it up.
Oh
His
yeah.
hair, like you see
So
him.
kind of flattened out, like on. It's actually like attached right here. Where
Yeah,
for
that's what I'm
us,
saying. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
have bangs, right? So it just kind of
yeah.
falls on my head. No, his hair is growing on his forehead.
It needs to get a. You know what? Chet would look good in a badass fade, man. Like he should go get tapered up, get like a clean looking fade on
I
that thing,
mean, you
and
went 3-0. You should go get a fade right now. Like walk out of there, go to some Berlin barber and say fade me up because
I do like it that a lot of these coaches are these little Indian kids. Makes me feel proud.
I just went
Makes
3-0.
me feel
Well, that's
proud.
because they all got banned for hacking in their own country, so now they got to coach up.
They're trying to learn
they,
how to
they got
trying
to
to learn how to
coach
do
up
it the right
NA
way.
Counter Strike after they all get banned for hacking in India. So
Got
that's
some Indian coaches, and NA
that's,
teams started
that's how
winning
they
all of a
work, man.
sudden.
That's how they work. Indian coach is like, no, let me set up your equipment, guys. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Don't worry
You want
about
to
it.
dive into champions here for a moment? Champion
Yeah, let's
stage.
let's go. I mean, we don't have to talk about the teams too much just because we kind of already have. But that starts up when the 5th, right? Same day as the Overwatch League playoffs, Thursday.
Same day as the Overwatch League
Man,
playoffs.
busy
Why don't we
weekend, man.
do a little predictions?
Yeah, I'm totally down, man.
Like I said, I don't think we need to dive into any of these teams and matchups. I think it'll be more fun to just talk about after they've taken place
Yeah,
instead of discussing
like I
what they
said,
are.
talking like
Obviously,
doing like full on matchup previews to me is such a waste because things change, right? It's like we could talk into our faces are blue about one certain player, and then it's like, who cares? Who cares about who cares about it? It's just all hypotheticals, anyways.
so give me your semifinals picks for the major.
So looking at the top bracket, this is who plays on Thursday. You have
Mm-hmm.
Ents versus Renegades, and then Vitality versus Avangar.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Ents versus Vitality. I feel like
I'm
the
gonna go.
top bracket's not as fun. Like the top half
It's
is not as fun.
it's not. I mean, I think the Vitality Avangard matchup could be a fantastic one ultimately, but I do have the same top brackets you got there. The
The
bottom
only
one's
thing
a
is
tough one.
maybe Sonny has said, like, maybe he's sandbagging it and he's like, look, I'm gonna play out of my freaking mind, get to the quarterfinals, and then screw you guys over, cause f you. This is what you get for crossing Sonny, and now he just throws hard.
Yeah, this
That'd
is
be epic.
that
I mean,
would be,
he's already been on every CS:GO team out there, so what does he have to lose?
for their sake they should lose this matchup so people are looking forward to Sunny coming.
Yeah,
They lose
for
to
sure.
Renegades here in the quarterfinals, people will be pretty excited for Sunny. Ents advances through and somehow makes a finals run again. Good luck, Sunny. The bottom bracket's the crazy one. So the bottom bracket's the one that everyone should stay tuned for. You got Astralis versus Liquid. Two heavyweights, two people poised for a championship run going up
That's your
against each other
finals
in the
right
first
there.
round.
Like that's what you want
Yeah,
for your.
I mean,
This happened last major, right? Did it
it
not, or
did.
were they semis? Were they quarters or semis?
They played in the same bracket side, so
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know
remember.
that.
But then
I don't remember which one though.
for the bottom half, again, another fantastic game. You got Simple and Navi going up against NRG. Um, I don't think any of these are easy picks. Either one of these are both very much toss up in my eyes because Astralis has looked good, and like we said, we've finally seen a kink in the armor of Team Liquid. But in this case, I am taking Team Liquid to win that matchup, and I'm gonna have an all North American semifinal on that side. I will have Team Liquid going up against NRG.
I
I
wish I
can't
could.
count on Navi enough to be
No.
consistent.
I wish
I
I
just
could
can't do
be
it.
cool and say something different than you, but I agree. I think I think the subpar performance from Liquid leading up to the championship stage has kind of woken them up, and I think now that they have a few days to kind of regroup and get their things in order, I think it's probably for the best that they did play somewhat poorly, right? So now they can kind of get things going. I think they take Astralis.
They've had
And,
Astralis' number as of late.
and Astralis hasn't been looking that good either, right? Like
Yeah.
I say Liquid has had like a poor performance. Astralis hasn't been playing that great either. I mean, the teams that they played in, in the Swiss system, they beat Dream Eaters, G2, and Crazy. Like nothing to write home about either. So they haven't been playing too great. So I think Liquid could win. And I'm not on that hype of Navi anymore. The hype of Navi to me, they're not they're mortal, right? They can be beaten. So I think
Yeah,
Simple they ride Simple way too much still. So I can see NRG winning it as well.
they do. They've yet to find a consistent number two. Sometimes it's electronic. That's who you want it to be. Sometimes it's flamey. And I guess people could also say on the flip side, hey, it's good that multiple people can step up. The problem is too many people don't do it at the right time for them. And so um, I am going to go with NRG because I'm taking the hot hand more than anything. If NRG had kind of slipped their way in and weren't looking that great, I'd probably be more inclined to give Navi a chance here. But NRG is really playing out of their mind, which again, is going to lead to an amazing semifinals matchup if that were to happen.
So we can
Ents
just skip
Vitality.
I was gonna say we can skip semis if you want and just say who do we think are going to be in the grand finals.
Let's go for it.
On the top. Ooh, boy. Give me Vitality. I really think, again, it's just like you said. It's the hot hand. They're consistent. Yeah, they had a pretty bad new legend stage, right? They almost were eliminated from this major, but they've looked so good. Maybe they can be in the finals. I don't know. I'm not really confident about anyone in that top half, to be honest with you. It could be any of them in the finals. In the bottom, if we're saying Liquid and NRG in semis, again, I'm not comfortable about any of it. I guess give me Liquid, but I wouldn't be surprised if NRG wins the whole stinking major, which mind blown if that happens. If NRG walks away being the Berlin major champions, I won't know what to believe anymore. Like, who would have thought ahead of time?
Yeah, I mean, wait, so who did you have winning it all?
I never.
Wait, did you even say who you
I
didn't
kind of
say? Okay,
chickened
we're
out.
just doing we're doing our
I
finals
just
matchup.
chickened out. Yeah. I think Vitality and Liquid, but I'm gonna cover myself and say I wouldn't be surprised if NRG wins the major.
Okay, well, if it is Vitality Liquid, who do you got?
Liquid. If it's Vitality and Liquid, I think whoever wins NRG versus Liquid wins the major.
Okay, fair enough. I'm right there with you. You know, for our picks in terms of making the finals, I do have Vitality and Liquid in my pick'ems at least. I'll tell you just a quick thing: Vitality and Ents going head to head. Ents just dominated them 2-0. And you know, some would wonder why. Well, why wouldn't you pick Ents to do this? Like, why aren't you giving Ents credit? I don't have faith that the Alu Zaiwu matchup is going to go the same way it just went, where Alu is plus 30 over their matches that they had
Right.
against them in their 2-0, and Zaiwu is bottom fragging on his team. I don't see that happening again. I think it's very hard to keep Zaiwu down. He's been too good over the last 3 or 4 months now. So I do see a little bit of a role reversal there, but that is going to be, who performs better, Alu or Zaiwu. And I'm going to take Zaiwu and go with Vitality there to win that matchup. The same thing. I mean, I'm going to take Liquid to beat NRG. I'm excited to see the Stewie and Tarek
New
matchup here
couple
in
name
a
Tui official.
yeah, Tui. I am excited to see Stewie versus Tarek in a semifinals matchup. To get him to the championship, I think that'd be awesome for NA. I think that'd be awesome for Counter Strike. Both of those have left lasting memories for all NA fans. Both of those players in general with Cloud9. So, I would love to see that matchup, and I would take Liquid in that matchup, and then have Liquid winning it all.
Yeah. So it could go anyway. Anyway, really, like this, for what seems like a lackluster major, this is really a juicy, juicy championship stage that's starting up on Thursday.
Yeah,
And you
about
know
to get
what?
it going.
Yeah. If all goes well, my child will be born, and I won't have any sleep, and I can actually watch it all. So
Even better.
that's all I ask. That's all I
Take
ask.
the morning feeding sessions.
That's right. All right, let's get into some e-news. We don't have a whole lot, but it's enough to justify. In Dota, Jason Lake pulled a psych on everyone. He thought everyone thought his tweet was talking about Counter-Strike. No, fam. He was talking about Dota, as Complexity's Dota team was officially disbanded right after the TI. So he's just cleaning out house now. What if Counter-Strike was the reason the Dota... Like, maybe he didn't think... Maybe he was going to keep the Dota team the whole time, but then Counter-Strike pissed him off so much, he just went into that office and said, "You're all out."
Or he knows he's about to have to cut some fat checks for Counter-Strike.
He's like, "Guys, I
okay,
cannot afford your salary and colds." Okay? Have you seen this guy's buyout? I got to let you go.
So rip to the Complexity Dota team.
Lots of news coming out for Call of Duty. Their official... What is the official league? Is it Call of Duty League?
It's the CDL? Call it, yeah.
Call of Duty League?
Yeah.
Call
CDL,
Duty?
I think.
No of? Call Duty?
Yeah, CDL or something.
The Florida team, no official name yet, but they did announce they hired a general manager. Did not see this one coming. Ogre2 is the official general manager for Call of Duty Florida. pretty unreal. So Ogre 2, for those who don't know, does not come from a Call of Duty background. He actually was a former Halo pro. I
Mr.
mean,
Tom Ryan.
Oh, geez. He's one of the. I don't know which one he is.
Yeah.
One of the Ryans.
Yeah, no, that's it. You know, he stays fairly active also on social media. You know, a decent follow there.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
he's an OG, right? He comes from Final Boss. Like, he was one of the original people in esports that ESPN did articles on and things like that. So
I wonder how you get that position other than his name. I wonder what qualifies him for that role within Call of Duty, right?
knowing people, I guess.
I
Maybe
guess,
just
yeah.
knowing
I mean,
how to form a team.
And look, I'm not saying it's a bad hire. Like, I mean, I think the guy is a legend and deservedly so. It's just weird that it's in another game, right? So,
Right.
I don't know how that necessarily
Like, out of
translates.
all the candidates,
Yeah.
why him? I don't know. I'm
Running
not
a $30 million
I'm not compla-
franchise, you know?
Right. Yeah. So it's either way though. That's pretty cool to see them
It
getting
is.
an original name in there. 100. We've actually talked about it on the show. I guess it was never official, but it is official now. 100 Thieves is officially not coming to the Call of Duty League. Nade Shot came out, did an announcement explaining, "Hey, we just aren't doing it."
Did you hear the announcement? Did you listen to it?
I skimmed, you know. I got
I
the gist
thought it
of
was interesting. So, I mean, like, the first thing he goes into is talking about financially, they didn't feel like it was feasible, right? Just the money that's involved and just getting the team, plus the operational cost, plus the relo aspect of it, right? They weren't going to get LA as a host city, so they would have to have some sort of setup in another city because that's
I mean, because
you know,
you're
these
housing
guys
the players there, right?
you're housing the players, right? So they're going to be in whatever city that your team is in. So he said that was one of the reasons. But then he really dove into the branding side, which does lead me to believe you will not be using your team branding. It will not be it will not be LA Optic or whatever. It
Well,
sounds
remember
like
though, the Optic might be a possibility though. The official rule from the league is you cannot use branding that you use elsewhere. So like Team Envy has Team Envy in multiple esports, right? So they can't have Envy in their branding. Optic now is only Optic. So
only Optic
you
for.
could still see that branding.
So use a different example then. Take out Optic, whatever. Use another team. Then Team Envy cannot use Team Envy for it.
Right.
100 Thieves, he said in his statement, they are all about branding. They're a streetwear company. And to not be able to use their stuff also does not help push their brand forward. And so that, along with the cost of being in the league, did not make sense for them as an organization right now. And he just dove in so hard into the branding aspect of it. Uh, that just kind of lets me know, like, they got to make money, and esports is not always the best investment to do it. They might make, in my mind, they're making a lot more money off their merchandise than they are anything else.
Right.
And so to not be able to sell it that way is a big kicker there.
Yep. Also, kind of related to it is MLG Adam, known on Twitter, leaves MLG Activision Blizzard. Now, for those who don't know, he is one of the founding members of MLG. He's been around since the beginning. He's been in hundreds of events. Anything with MLG slapped on it, he's pretty much been behind it, especially in the last couple of years, really building the Call of Duty League, World League, and building that scene out. I will say this, because a lot of people like to make these, drastic, well, this is the end of Call of Duty, or, this is a big hit for Blizzard, man. How are they going to recover? I don't know if people just don't really get how this whole thing works, but when you establish a league, you typically establish pretty permanent roles as far as like employees and the way things work and sites and locations and events. So when this happens, yeah, you're going to see some people back out, right? This is not his little baby anymore. This is not the MLG he worked with. Yeah, I'm sure they want to keep him. Of course, you want to keep someone with that mind and that all the resume behind him. You want to keep him in your company, your organization. But at the same time, like, when creating an established league, you're just gonna have fallout. That's That's just how it works. You know, maybe they just don't have a job position for him that suits what he normally wants to do. You don't really have to worry about setting up events when you have an established league, you know? You don't have to worry about
It's
next
obviously
week,
weird not to see him in Call of Duty
of
in some
course, or
because it
he's
feels
just an
like he's been the
MLG,
fate.
right?
Yeah, in
Like,
MLG in
hell,
general.
like
But yeah,
he's part of the reason, like, you know, I think any of us got into esports was through MLG for the most part. So it's nuts to see him walk away from that, but he's still going to be involved in esports. It's just not necessarily through Blizzard, Activision, MLG anymore.
yeah,
And MLG as a whole is kind of dead anyways, right? Because Call of Duty was its kind of last thing. I know they still, I think, have Halo. I think maybe going
Sure.
forward they still have Halo.
yeah.
So maybe they branch with that coming up. But yeah, does it suck? Yes, it sucks. Is it a surprise? Definitely not. I guess sometimes you just have to have some sacrifices when moving on in business, and that's one of them. In other esports news, we talked about this like 2 or 3 episodes ago about is there any more room for battleground games as they seem to be kind of dying off in the esports world.
I guess not on PC.
Yeah, little did we know mobile is where it was at apparently, because Cloud9 ends up picking up a PUBG mobile roster. This was weeks after they let go of their PUBG PC roster and Apex roster. So imagine being those guys thinking, they're just done with BR games. No, nothing personal. And then you see on your Twitter feed, hold up. They picked up a what? A PUBG mobile roster.
Ding ding. Oh, we just hit our 30-second mobile talk.
That must be something that we just don't know.
I just don't get it. I mean, I know mobile gaming is huge, and I can't say how I really feel because I've seen how vicious it is out there. I just have not bought into the mobile gaming hype. I've played PUBG on mobile. I've played Fortnite on mobile. It's a brutal experience. It just does not seem.
And it is weird. Like, it's weird because people outside of esports come to me and go, how can you get hyped watching people play on a computer? I'm like, I don't know. It just works, right? It gets me hyped. But then I go to people who play mobile games. And I'm like, how do you get hyped watching someone hunched over on their phone? Like, that looks so ridiculous. But I get it. I get that it's hypocritical of me to say that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I also don't really care. Okay? Mobile is dumb. It's dumb. Understand it's a $1 billion industry. Don't care. It's dumb.
By the way, it's a good time. If you are looking to sponsor the show, we're looking for all mobile companies as well.
Mobile sponsors, dude.
So
Mobile esports is the future.
Samsung, Apple, if you guys have any interest.
It is the future. I 100% back that. 100%.
100% willing to be a 100% mobile gamer if we got the right
I'll
right
support
deal.
anything you want. Oh, the International broke Twitch records as it peaked just over 1.9 million views. So yet again,
Crazy
the
number,
TI
man.
breaking records. So say what you
Counter-Strike
want.
broke it a couple years back at 1 million, and now we're at 2. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty insane.
You know, are there bots? Sure. Is it all legit?
Do we care?
Probably not. But yeah, do we also care? Not really. People are acting like TV viewership numbers are 100% legit too. Well, let me tell you someone who has to give people viewership numbers. They're never legit. They're all fluffed a little bit. Anyone's going to fluff whatever they can. That's the name of the game. That does it for this episode of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 173. It's done. It's in the books. Boy, what a ride. What an episode. Thank you all for listening. If you skipped through or if you listened to all of it, I love you all the same. We will be back next week. Again, I'm going to always throw it out. Maybe a little late, maybe a little early. I don't know when this kid is going to get here, okay? Having a baby is complicated. What can I say? Maybe I'll do it from the hospital.
That would be the show of the year.
I'll just ask my wife.
Do it.
Hey babe, can you
while
keep it down?
she's in labor.
Yeah, can you keep it down, please? The mic is just picking up a lot of background noise. Could you just keep it down? Andrew, thank you for following on Mixer. Appreciate it, bud. We also stream on Mixer, so if you hate Twitch, there's that for you. But yeah, so we'll be back sometime next week. Follow on Twitter to keep an update. We're going to finish up the Berlin Major. We're going to talk some Overwatch playoffs. All that fun stuff will be next week on the Center Ring. But I'm Tim for Nuge. We'll see ya.